Okay, everyone, settle in. This is going to be a long one. Because this story isn't just about one man. It's about how a single human being can end up at the center of a system that, according to major news outlets and human rights organizations, has been responsible for mass killings, systematic repression, and the crushing of an entire nation's hopes for decades. So let's talk about Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the man who, as of 2026, has held absolute power over 80 million people for 36 years. 36 years. That's longer than many people have been alive. That's a generation of Iranians who have never known any other ultimate authority. And here's why this story matters right now. As we speak, Iran is experiencing what multiple outlets are calling the largest mass killing in the country's modern history. Iran International News has reported that at least 12,000 people have been killed in a crackdown during an internet blackout. CBS News has reported similar figures, while noting they could not independently verify the total. The UN has called for investigations. Bodies have been filmed lined up in morgues. This is not ancient history. This is happening now. And at the center of it all sits one man, Ali Khamenei. So who is he? How did he get here? And why does a system built around one person end up killing so many of its own citizens? Let's start at the beginning. Part 1. The Making of a Revolutionary. Chapter 1. Born into the world of clerics, Ali Khamenei was born on April 19, 1939, in Mashhad, Iran. This is important geography. Mashhad isn't just any city, it's one of the holiest cities in Shia Islam, home to the shrine of Imam Reza. It's a place where religion isn't just practiced, it's lived, breathed, and politically powerful. His father was Shavad Khamenei, an ethnic Azerbaijani cleric. His mother was Khadija Miramadi, daughter of another cleric. So from birth, Ali was embedded in a world of religious hierarchy, religious authority, and religious power. Now, here's what you need to understand about clerical families in Iran. They're not like ordinary families. There's a structure. There's a pecking order. There's a path to advancement that has nothing to do with democracy and everything to do with who you know, what you study, and how well you navigate the internal politics of the seminaries. Ali was the second of 8 children. His father was described as pious, but not particularly prominent. This wasn't a wealthy family. This wasn't a powerful family. This was a modest clerical household in a holy city, and that modesty, that sense of starting from below, would shape everything about how Khamenei would later accumulate and hold power. Chapter 2. The Seminary Years, Learning the Game. Khamenei's education began at age 4 when he started learning the Quran at a maktab, a traditional religious school. He then moved through the seminary system in Mashhad, studying under various mentors. In 1957, at age 18, he traveled to Naya, Iraq, one of the most important centers of Shia learning in the world. But his father called him back. He didn't want his son staying in Iraq, so in 1958, Khamenei moved to Qom, the center of clerical power in Iran. And this is where his life trajectory changed forever, because in Qom, he attended the classes of Ruhollah Khomeini. Khomeini, remember that name? Because Khomeini would become the architect of the Islamic Revolution, the founder of the Islamic Republic, and the man who would eventually hand Ali Khamenei the most powerful position in Iran. But here's what's interesting. Unlike many clerics who focused purely on religious scholarship, Khamenei was always more interested in politics. Multiple sources note that he was far more involved with politics than religious scholarship. He wasn't going to become a great theologian, he was going to become a political operative. And in the 1960s, that meant opposing the Shah. Chapter 3. The Opposition Years, Prison Exile and Building Networks. During the reign of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Khamenei was arrested 6 times and exiled for 3 years. This is according to his official website. Now, why does this matter? Because in revolutionary movements, prison time is currency. It's proof of commitment. It's evidence that you suffered for the cause. When the revolution finally comes, the people who went to prison are the people who get rewarded. Khamenei spent those years building networks, establishing relationships with other dissidents, and positioning himself as a loyal soldier in Khamenei's movement. He wasn't the leader, he wasn't the visionary, but he was reliable, he was committed, and when the revolution came, that counted for a lot. Chapter 4. The Revolution, when everything changed. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 overthrew the Shah and established the Islamic Republic. Khomeini returned from exile. And suddenly, all those people who had been imprisoned, who had been exiled, who had suffered for the cause, they were now in power. Khamenei was among them. He held various positions in the new government. He was Deputy Defense Minister. He supervised the Revolutionary Guards. He served as Tehran's Friday prayers imam, a position of significant public visibility. But here's what you need to understand about the immediate post-revolutionary period. It was violent. It was chaotic. And the new government was not gentle with its enemies. According to multiple sources, vigorous opposition to the government, including violent protests, assassinations, and guerrilla activity, was met with state repression. Thousands of people were killed by revolutionary courts. The regime was consolidating power, and it was doing so through force. Khamenei was part of this. He wasn't on the sidelines. He was inside the system, rising through the ranks, proving his loyalty. Chapter 5. The Assassination Attempt, creating a symbol. On June 27, 1981, something happened that would become central to Khamenei's personal mythology. He was at the Abu Zar Mosque in Tehran, giving a lecture. A young man approached and placed a tape recorder on the desk in front of him. Inside the tape recorder was a bomb. The bomb exploded. Khamenei was seriously injured. His right arm was permanently paralyzed. His vocal cords and lungs were damaged. His treatment took months. So, the attack was attributed to the Mujahedin-e-Khalq, an opposition group. Now, why does this matter? Because in revolutionary systems, surviving an assassination attempt doesn't just make you a victim, it makes you a symbol. It makes you someone who was chosen to survive. It gives you a kind of mystical credibility that ordinary politicians don't have. Khamenei would carry that paralyzed right arm for the rest of his life. And it would be a constant, visible reminder of his sacrifice for the revolution. Part 2. The Rise to Ultimate Power. Chapter 6. The Presidency Learning the Machinery. In October 1981, after the assassination of President Mohammad Ali Raghoi, Khamenei was elected president of Iran. He won with 97% of the vote, though only 4 candidates had been approved to run. He served as president from 1981 to 1989. This was during the Iran-Iraq War, one of the bloodiest conflicts of the 20th century. Estimates suggest between 500,000 and 1 million people died in that war. During this period, Khamenei developed close ties with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, Corps the IRGC. This relationship would prove crucial to everything that came later, because the IRGC would become the primary instrument of domestic control and regional influence for the Islamic Republic. In his presidential inaugural address, Khamenei vowed to eliminate deviation, liberalism, and American-influenced leftists. This wasn't rhetoric. This was policy. The government was crushing opposition, and Khamenei was part of it. Chapter 7, 1988. The Shadow That Never Left. In 1988, something happened that human rights organizations have documented as one of the worst atrocities in the Islamic Republic's history. Thousands of political prisoners were executed. Human Rights Watch has documented these mass executions. The estimates of how many died range from several thousand to over 30,000, depending on the source. Khamenei was president during this period. The executions happened under the leadership structures he was part of. This matters because it establishes a pattern. The Islamic Republic has, from its earliest years, demonstrated a willingness to use mass killing as a tool of political control. The 1988 executions weren't an aberration. They were policy. Chapter 8. Becoming Supreme Leader, the Unexpected Elevation. On June 4, 1989, Ayatollah Khomeini died, and Ali Khamenei was chosen as his successor. This was surprising. Khamenei wasn't a grand Ayatollah. He wasn't even really recognized as an Ayatollah at the time. He was a Hoyatollah Islam, a lower clerical rank. the constitution required that the supreme leader be a marja, a high-ranking religious authority. Khamenei wasn't one. So what happened? The constitution was changed. The requirement was removed, and Khamenei was installed anyway. According to a video that surfaced during the 2017-2018 protests, Khamenei himself said he wasn't religiously qualified for the position. He said he would only be a ceremonial leader. Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani reportedly assured him the position would be temporary. It wasn't temporary. 36 years later, Khamenei is still in power. Chapter 9, The Structure of Absolute Power. To understand why Khamenei is dangerous, you have to understand the structure of the position he holds. The supreme leader of Iran is not like a president or a prime minister. He is not elected by the people. He is not accountable to parliament. He cannot be voted out. The supreme leader is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He appoints the head of the judiciary. He appoints the members of the Guardian Council, which vets all candidates for elected office. He controls the state broadcasting organization. He makes the final decisions on foreign policy, the economy, and everything else. As one analyst put it, Khamenei issues decrees and makes the final decisions on the economy, environment, foreign policy, and everything else in Iran. He meets with the president and cabinet members and tells them what to do. This is not a democracy. This is not even an authoritarian system with checks and balances. This is a system designed to concentrate all meaningful power in one office and one person. Part 3. The Ideology of Violence. Chapter 10. Vilayati Faqih, the Doctrine of Total Control. At the heart of the Islamic Republic is a doctrine called Vilayati Faqih, the guardianship of the Islamic jurist. Traditionally, this was a limited Qanun concept. It applied to specific matters like managing certain properties or caring for orphans. It was not a general writ to rule. Khomeini changed that. He declared that the highest-ranking religious jurist should have absolute authority over the entire society, not just religious matters, everything. Politics, economics, military, social life, and he even personally decides whether humans will survive or not. And under Khamenei, this doctrine has been taken even further. According to analysis from the Washington Institute, Khamenei has developed what researchers call communism, a systematic expansion of the supreme leader's power that has undermined institutional autonomy and concentrated decision-making in his office. The doctrine matters because it provides religious justification for unlimited power. If the supreme leader is God's representative on earth, then opposing him isn't just political disagreement, it's religious sin. It's enmity against God, and enmity against God is punishable by death. Chapter 11, The Worldview Enemies Everywhere. If you read Khamenei's speeches and writings, a consistent pattern emerges. The world is divided between good and evil, between Islam and its enemies. The primary enemy is the United States, the great Satan. But the enemy list extends to Israel, to Western civilization broadly, to domestic reformers, to anyone who questions the system. According to one analysis, Khamenei's rhetoric regularly mentions familiar themes: justice, independence, Islamic government, and resolute opposition to Israel and the United States. But he rarely mentions revolutionary ideals like democracy or government transparent. This worldview matters because it justifies permanent conflict. If the world is a battlefield, if enemies are everywhere, if the struggle is existential, then extraordinary measures are always justified, including violence, including mass killing. Chapter 12, Jihad reinterpreted the permission to kill. Here's where the ideology gets really dangerous. Traditional Shia Islam generally limits offensive warfare. Only an infallible imam, a divinely appointed leader, can declare offensive jihad. And according to 12er Shiism, there are only 12 such figures, the last of whom is in hiding and will return at the end of time. Khamenei has changed this. According to his writings and fatwas, a qualified jurist who rules Muslims can declare offensive jihad if he sees it expedient for the regime. He has also authorized security forces to fire at will to protect the regime's interests. In a 2018 speech, He said that when institutions fall into disarray and stagnation, commanders should recognize their duty, make decisions, and act in a fire-at-will manner. This is religious permission for violence. This is the supreme leader telling his security forces, when you kill to protect this system, you are doing God's work. Chapter 13. The IRGC, the Instrument of Control. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is not a normal military organization. It's an ideological army designed to protect the revolution, which in practice means protecting Khamenei's power. The IRGC has expanded massively under Khamenei's rule. Its commanders are appointed directly by the supreme leader. Its propaganda openly compares Khamenei to the first Shia Imam. The IRGC controls significant portions of the Iranian economy. It operates outside normal government oversight. It has its own intelligence services, its own media operations, its own economic enterprises, and crucially, the IRGC is the organization that carries out domestic repression. When protesters are killed, it's often IRGC forces or the Basi militia, which operates under IRGC command, doing the killing. This is the machinery of violence, and Khamenei sits at the top of it. Part 4. The Pattern of Mass Killing. Chapter 14, 2019. The November Massacre. In November 2019, protests erupted across Iran over fuel price increases. The government responded with extreme violence. According to reports cited by multiple sources, approximately 1,500 protesters were killed in less than 3 days. The killings happened during an internet blackout, which prevented real-time documentation and reporting. This was mass killing. This was the deliberate use of lethal force against civilian protesters, and it happened under Khamenei's authority. He publicly supported the crackdown, drawing a distinction between protesters and readers, and stating that readers must be put in their place. Chapter 15, 2022, the Mahsa Amini protests. In September 2022, a young woman named Mahsa Amini died in the custody of Iran's morality police. She had been arrested for allegedly wearing her hijab improperly. Her death sparked the largest protests in Iran in years. The protests spread across the country. The slogan, "Woman, Life, Freedom," became a rallying cry. The government's response was violent. According to various reports, hundreds of protesters were killed. Thousands were arrested. The crackdown was systematic and brutal. Khamenei blamed the protests on foreign enemies. He accused the United States and Israel of orchestrating the unrest. This is the consistent pattern. When Iranians protest, the government claims they're not really Iranians. They're foreign agents, rioters, enemies of God. Chapter 16. Mass killing, and now we come to the present, to the events that are happening as you hear this. According to Iran International, at least 12,000 people have been killed in a crackdown during an internet blackout. The outlet cites sources it describes as senior government and security officials. CBS News has reported similar figures, over 12,000 feared dead, while explicitly stating it could not independently verify those totals, where CBS also reported that it verified video showing bodies lined up in a morgue with visible severe injuries, including gunshot and pellet wounds. The UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has called for an end to the violence and for investigations into the killings. Let me be very clear about something. The 12,000 figure is reported as a claim, not as a verified fact. Major outlets have noted the difficulty of independent verification, especially during an internet blackout. But even as a reported claim, the scale is staggering. If even a fraction of this number is accurate, we're talking about mass killing on a scale that would be among the worst atrocities of the 21st century. And at the center of a system that is allegedly carrying out this killing sits Ali Khamenei. Part 5. Why does this system kill? Chapter 17. The logic of authoritarian survival. Why does a government kill its own people? This is the question that haunts anyone trying to understand authoritarian violence. The answer, according to political scientists and analysts, is survival. When a regime believes its existence is threatened, it often responds with escalation rather than compromise, because compromise looks like weakness. and weakness invites more challenges. The Islamic Republic was born in violence. It has maintained itself through violence. The 1988 executions, the 2009 crackdown, the 2019 massacre, the 2022 repression, and now, allegedly, the 2025 to 2026 killings. Each time, the pattern is similar. Protests emerge. The government claims foreign interference, and security forces use lethal force to crush the unrest. Chapter 18. The role of the Supreme Leader. Khamenei doesn't personally pull triggers. He doesn't personally order each killing. That's not how authoritarian systems work. What he does is set the framework. He appoints the commanders. He articulates the ideology that justifies violence. He publicly supports crackdowns. He draws the line between protesters who have legitimate grievances and rioters who deserve to be crushed. When Khamenei says rioters must be put in their place, security forces hear permission. When Khamenei blames protests on foreign enemies, security forces understand that protesters aren't really citizens. They're agents of hostile powers. When Khamenei's ideology teaches that opposing the regime is enmity against God, killing becomes not just permitted but righteous. This is how mass violence happens in authoritarian systems. Not through explicit orders for each death, but through the creation of a framework where killing becomes normal, expected, and justified. Chapter 19. The Internet Blackout Killing in Darkness. One element of the reported 2025 to 2026 killings deserves special attention: the Internet blackout. According to Year in International's reporting, the scale of killing was linked to a period when Internet access was cut. CBA's news also noted the difficulty of verification during the blackout. This is not accidental. Cutting Internet access serves multiple purposes. It prevents protesters from organizing, it prevents real-time documentation of violence, and it prevents international attention when the world can't see what's happening. When there are no videos going viral, when journalists can't verify, reports violence becomes easier, accountability becomes harder. The blackout isn't just a technical measure, it's a tool of killing. Part 6. The Man Behind the System. Chapter 20. The Personality. What do we know? Khamenei has never given a personal interview to any media outlet since becoming supreme leader in 1989. He has never held a press conference. He doesn't travel internationally. This makes understanding him as a person difficult. We see the public figure, the speeches, the fatwas, the official appearances, but the private person remains largely hidden. What we do know from various sources, he reads extensively. According to some accounts, he has read more than 2,000 Iranian and foreign books. He has an interest in literature and poetry. He is described as meticulous about details, deeply interested in military matters, budgets, and administration. He has developed what some analysts describe as a cult of personality. His supporters have compared him to Imam Ali, the central figure of Shia Islam. Some have claimed he has attained infallibility, that he cannot do wrong due to divine support. Chapter 21. The Wealth Following the Money. Despite cultivating an image of austerity, Khamenei controls enormous financial resources. A 6-month investigation by Reuters found that Khamenei controls a financial empire worth approximately $95 billion through an organization called Sedad. This is money that the Iranian parliament does not oversee. According to the Reuters investigation, Sedad built its empire on the systematic seizure of thousands of properties belonging to ordinary Iranians, including religious minorities, business people, and Iranians living abroad. This financial independence matters. It means Khamenei doesn't depend on the government budget. It means he has resources to reward loyalty and punish disloyalty. It means he has the means to operate independently of any institution that might theoretically check his power. Chapter 22. The Family, Succession, and Dynasty. Khamenei has several children, and one in particular has attracted attention: Mojtaba Khamenei, According to various reports, Motaba has accumulated significant influence within the system. There has been speculation that he is being positioned as his father's successor, though the formal succession process is supposed to go through the assembly of experts. According to intelligence reports cited by media outlets, Khamenei has formulated a plan to flee from Tehran to Moscow if domestic unrest escalates beyond control. The escape plan reportedly includes Mojtaba. Whether or not this specific report is accurate, it points to something important. Even absolute rulers fear losing power. Even the supreme leader, with all his authority and all his security forces, worries about what happens when the system breaks. Part 7. The System's Future. Chapter 23. The Cracks in the Foundation. Despite the violence, despite the repression, the system shows signs of strain. According to analysis from the Washington Institute, Khamenei's base of hardline supporters has been weakened by perceived ideological betrayals, including failures to protect allies like Hezbollah and Hamas, and decisions that hardliners see as compromises with enemies. The irony is striking. Khamenei built his system on ideological purity and absolute loyalty, but now, some of his most loyal supporters are questioning whether he has remained true to those ideals. The protests continue. The economic situation remains dire. The international isolation continues, and the violence required to maintain control keeps escalating. Chapter 24. What comes next? Khamenei is 86 years old. He has been supreme leader for 36 years. At some point, there will be a succession, but the system he has built is designed around one person. The entire structure concentrates power in the supreme leader. What happens when that leader dies or becomes incapacitated? Some analysts suggest the system could fragment. Different factions, the IRGC, various clerical networks, economic interests could compete for control. Others suggest a smooth transition to another supreme leader, perhaps Motaba. What seems unlikely is peaceful democratization. The system has invested too much in repression. Too many people have been killed. Too many interests depend on the current structure. The people who benefit from the system have every incentive to maintain it by whatever means necessary. Part A, the full catalog of criminal acts filling the gaps. The original narrative touched on key atrocities, but it's far from complete. Khamenei's record of alleged criminal acts spans decades, rooted in his roles as president and supreme leader. Human rights groups like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the UN have documented a litany of violations that amount to crimes against humanity. Here's a more exhaustive rundown drawn from verified reports, because this man's legacy isn't just power, it's a trail of blood and broken lives. As a member of the Revolutionary Council in the early 1980s, Khamenei played a key role in shutting down universities during the Cultural Revolution, violently suppressing protesters, expelling students and professors, and violating rights to education, assembly, and expression. He also helped institutionalize unfair trials by adopting regulations for revolutionary courts, paving the way for arbitrary executions. During his presidency 1981 to 1989, Khamenei oversaw the mass execution of political prisoners and 1988 thousands killed in secret, based on political and religious beliefs, without fair trials. As president, he bears responsibility for these acts, classified as crimes against humanity, including murder, extermination, torture, and enforced disappearances. Reports detail the execution of women, some raped before death, and children, alongside persecution of religious and ethnic minorities. As supreme leader since 1989, the list explodes. Khamenei has authorized or overseen arbitrary executions and unlawful killings, over 1,000 executions in 2024 alone, including women, juveniles, and ethnic minorities like Balochis. This marks a 16% increase from 2023, with many for non-serious crimes or after unfair trials. The regime executed child offenders and used the death penalty disproportionately against minorities. Torture and cruel treatment. Systematic use of torture in prisons, including threats of rape, forced virginity tests, electroshock burnings, and sleep deprivation. UN reports from 2024 confirmed torture leading to deaths, like Kurdish detainees Mawzat Ismaili and Peyman Galvani in 2023. Sexual violence, including rape by IRGC and security forces, was weaponized during the 2022 to 2023 protests, affecting men, women, and children as young as 12. Enforced disappearances and arbitrary detention, thousands vanished or detained without charge, especially during protests. In 2023, over 22,000 were arrested in the woman, life, freedom movement. Many faced forced confessions and transnational repression, including killings abroad, crimes against humanity in protest crackdowns. UN fact-finding missions in 2024 labeled suppression as crimes against humanity, including murder, torture, rape, and gender persecution. High-level officials, including Khamenei, are implicated for overseeing violence that killed over 500, including 68 children. Similar patterns in 2019, 1,500 killed, and ongoing 2025 to 2026 events, up to 50,000 reported dead. Support for atrocities abroad, backing groups like Hezbollah, Houthis, and Assad's regime in Syria, enabling child soldier recruitment, war crimes, and abuses in conflicts. Discrimination and persecution, severe restrictions on women enforced a job leading to deaths like Mahsa Amini. Ethnic minorities, violence against Kurds, Baluchis, religious freedoms, and LGBTI persons, criminalization of same-sex acts, violence, corruption by entities like CDAD, ceding properties from minorities, interference with rights, censorship, internet shutdowns, attacks on journalists, and restriction on assembly. Catherine Shekdam, the French Jewish infiltrator who met Khamenei face-to-face in 2017, dropped a nuclear truth bomb in interviews. Iran's supreme leader is a raging hypocrite who's not into women at all. He craves little boys and young males, a filthy secret spilled to her by regime insider, Nader Talebzadeh. He adores small children and young boys, yet this monster executes thousands for the same crimes, hanging them for sodomy, same-sex acts, or even simple kisses between men, all branded as haram in Islam under labels like enmity against God. Over 4,000 slaughtered since 1979, while he hides his perversions in a web of abuse and power. The ultimate irony, the world's first openly hypocritical gay Muslim leader, killing his own kind to cloak his lust for the forbidden. In 2023, forced confessions aired on state media violated due process. These are not isolated incidents, they're systemic, enabled by Khamenei's absolute control. UN reports explicitly name him in Crimes Against Humanity for directing repression. Part 9. The Roots of Aggression. Why the Killer Instinct. Khamenei isn't aggressive by accident, it's baked into his psyche, ideology, and survival strategy. Picture a man forged in the fires of revolution, scarred by assassination attempts, and drunk on divine authority. His aggression stems from a toxic brew, paranoia, religious fanaticism, and raw power hunger. First, the worldview. Khamenei sees enemies everywhere. The U.S. as great Satan, Israel as eternal foe, the West as corruptors. This binary, us versus them, justifies endless conflict. As supreme leader, he reframed jihad to allow offensive war if expedient, green-lighting fire at will against threats. It's not defense, it's preemptive slaughter to preserve the regime psychologically. His modest origins bred resentment toward deviants and liberals, vowing to crush them in his inaugural speech. Surviving a 1981 bombing, it turned him into a chosen symbol, fueling messianic delusions. Analysts call it Khameneism. Expanding power to stomp out dissent, viewing opposition as enmity against God, punishable by death. Why a killer? Authoritarian logic, weakness invites overthrow. Protests are not grievances, they're foreign plots. So, escalate mass killings in 1988, 2019, 2022, now 2025 to 2026 to terrify into submission. His Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps empire enforces the system, blending ideology with brutality. Corruption deepens the damage. A $95 billion empire allows him to buy loyalty while ordinary citizens are left starving, creating growing anger that he suppresses through violence and bloodshed. In short, Khamenei's aggression is a shield for fragility. He's not a madman, he's a calculating tyrant who kills to cling to godlike power. But cracks show his base erodes, protests rage, The killer's throne wobbles. Part 10. Childhood Shadows. Unfounded allegations of trauma. Rumors swirl about Khamenei's early life, including unverified claims of childhood rape. But let's cut through the fog. Extensive research yields no credible evidence. No biographies, memoirs, or reports from sources like Carnegie Endowment or UN documents mention such trauma. His official narrative paints a poor but pious upbringing in Mashhad, focused on religious studies from age 4. Speculation might stem from misinformation or conflation with regime abuses. He got systemic rape in prisons under his rule. One fringe ex-post alleges his father authored a child rape manual, but that's baseless propaganda, lacking any historical backing. Khamenei's aggression likely roots in political indoctrination, not personal victimhood. Without facts, we don't fabricate. If trauma shaped him, it's hidden deep, but his adult crimes stand exposed, unexcused. Conclusion: the weight of power. So, who is Ali Khamenei? He is a man who rose through the revolutionary movement, who was imprisoned and exiled, who survived an assassination attempt, who was unexpectedly elevated to the highest position in the Islamic Republic. He is a man who has held absolute power for 36 years, longer than many Iranians have been alive. He is a man who sits at the center of a system that has killed thousands of people to maintain its power: the 1988 executions, the 2019 massacre, the 2022 crackdown, and now, according to reports, the 2025 to 2026 mass killings. Is he personally evil? Is he a monster? That's not really the right question. The right question is, what does it mean to hold absolute power over a system that kills to survive? The answer is that you become responsible. Maybe not for every individual death, but for the framework, for the ideology that justifies violence, for the appointments of commanders who carry out violence, for the published statements that authorize violence, for the structure that makes violence the default response to dissent. Well, that is a weight of power. That is what it means to be supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And that is the story of Ali Khamenei.